Maybe it's a regenerative set. Oh, there's something, there's something. I don't know how something like this howls. There's not enough parts.
Boys Town Same-Day Pediatrics. Call us 7 days a week for an appointment before bedtime. Boys Town Same-Day Pediatrics.
This is your NBC Sports Radio update. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Still plenty of reaction pouring in from a busy Black Monday in the NFL. That was at the 49ers. Assistant coach Eric Mangini is slated to interview for the Raiders head coaching position. Meanwhile, Jim Harbaugh is expected to be announced today by the University of as their next head coach. Other NFL news: the Lions suspended.
The control for the filament doesn't seem, for this first audio stage, doesn't seem to make a lot of difference.
He is appealing the suspension. 3 bowl games yesterday: Texas A&M over West Virginia in the Liberty Bowl, Clemson routes Oklahoma in the Russell Athletic Bowl, and it was Arkansas over Texas in the Texas Bowl. NBA, the Bulls extend their league-leading winning streak to 7 games as they get by the Pacers 92-90. The Wizards, the best 30-game start in franchise history, they beat the Rockets 104.
That might be part of the problem. Let me stick this up. That voltage doesn't seem to drop a terrible lot there.
While doing my Sudoku. Sure.
Or driving to work.
Actually, that's pretty dangerous. I love eating steak and eggs while texting. Sure.
And I eat sausage and country gravy while operating power tools.
What? No.
Ooh, or playing that game where you stab the stick between your fingers with a knife.
The AM Crunch Wrap. A whole breakfast in one hand, grilled to go with a hash brown inside. Only at Taco Bell. Wake up, live mom. At participating locations. Now at the Home Depot, get 10% off.
Two not working.
$396 or more.
Thought I tested it.
The holidays are done, but the
A lot of problems here today. Appears that socket might not be any good. Let's swap a tube here and see. We'll just set that over here. Oh, I know what that is. Those jacks on the front cut the filaments off when you're not using them. It's to save power. It's actually kind of clever. That actually seems quieter. This doesn't seem to do a lot, but these.
Until Monday, but we've got stats in the producer's chair, and it's time for little chances also.
Okay. Well, so we're sort of working. I'm not sure what station that is. I think it's KFAB.
And for the 94th time in a row, I will refrain from singing a little Wilson Phillips. I know that there's a grateful nation out there. For the 94th time in a row. I only did it once. That was enough. Let's start in the NFL.
Trying to find out what the
49ers, Bears, Falcons, and Raiders are all looking for.
Find out what the filament voltage on the detector is.
Two of those 5 make the playoffs.
So apparently this thing's trying to oscillate.
No. Wow. Say no. No for the Jets. No for the Niners. No for the Bears. Nope. No for the Falcons. The Raiders is not shocking. No. Yeah. I'm 99%. Those guys are all going to suck. Staying in the NFL, Ndamukong Suh was suspended one game yesterday for his stomp of Aaron Rodgers. He is appealing the suspension.
When I vary that pop for the detector, it doesn't really lower the volume as much as it changes the tone. It's probably changing the bias on the thing.
Sure. I'm going to go with a minus 100%. There's absolutely no shot. There's no shot, and you and I were both looking at the memo from the NFL who spelled out specifics why they were doing what they were doing. He's got a 0.0 chance of getting that turned over. Taking a look at the playoff matchup on Saturday, the one I like.
Let me just try something here. So apparently the way that's wired is important.
Good enough that you've got to respect him. You better think about then the ball every once in a while. We'll get it, but Big Ben said.
It's a little bit grumpy. Now apparently I've fiddled with it and knocked it out. There it is.
That earlier in the program, Cam Newton. Really was surprised. Really rolling right now. Now on Sunday, we get some marquee quarterbacks, starting with Andrew Luck hosting Andy Dalton and the Bengals. Marvin Lewis has never won a playoff game as head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. Not ever. F.J.D. And that streak ends on Sunday.
Let me move the antenna here for fun. Actually, it's working without an antenna. Barely.
Is obviously a big part of that. You know what? I only give one chance of 10 coming out of there with a win. Another quarterback who some say has not. Cowboys will be hosting. Favored by 7 in that game.
It's interesting, I moved the antenna to a different place and it seems to be acting differently.
I hope this doesn't curse him. I actually think that this is the year they get over the hump. Done it on the road. They've done it in the month of December.
It's not as loud there. Here it's pretty loud. Man, these things are plagued with bad connections. I don't know what station that is. I guess I'm going to have to find out. It sounds like there might be a couple stations there. Trying to find a different.
Structure. Here's
Things are pretty squealy.
privilege, not a chore. And frustration, a tool, not an obstacle. I'm a teacher. Make more.
Make more. Teach. Visit teach.org. Brought to you by Teach and the Ad Council.
Sports Radio in Omaha is now twice as good. This is 1180 Zone 2, The Deuce, KCOT, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is your ABC Sports Radio update.
Okay, so this is up at the upper end of the
longest current winning streak in the end.
upper end, 1180. Weird. I don't hear that station very often. So a little more tuning around, but I'm kind of run out of capacitor here. I'm at the kind of end of the road. Let's see if we can turn something lower. Just gonna close everything up here and see what we can get going. Something there. I think this thing's oscillating badly. Pretty exciting radio that only works on one channel. Nope, there's something there.
Agencies right now. And the National Football League, Mike Jr.'s thought, Dad and I were saying earlier, to us, that the most appealing job out there would be San Francisco. When you look at the list also with Atlanta and Chicago and New York. For you, do you think the Niners would be the best spot, or maybe Atlanta because of the young talent, especially offensively?
I think it is really splitting hairs with those two, I think. But when you have, a young mobile quarterback and what's become so popular in this league, not necessarily the running quarterback, but having a guy that can move
I think that's
around
a
and
different
play
sports
plays,
channel down at the
has
low
a
end.
wrinkle to it. I think that definitely helps, and I heard you guys mention it earlier, just an established unit up front. You talked about some of the struggles Atlanta's had on the offensive line because of injury and a number of things, young guys just getting into place. I mean, you've got Joe Staley and that core group of guys out there in San Fran that's been doing their thing for a while. They get a lot of guys back, so it seems like a really good situation.
And even on the D line, I go to both lines, and maybe we do that because we're linemen. But Lewis Riddick said it. Yeah, player or appropriate. Get you from the inside out, and both lines. You look at both lines at San Francisco as compared to Atlanta. And you would lean towards San Francisco. It's not to say they can't get better in Atlanta. I'm sure they will. Mm-hmm. But right now, San Francisco has it more built in, whereas it's different on the outside, where you have Roddy White, Julio Jones, and Matt Ryan. Well, you have Colin Kaepernick, Anquan Bolden's getting up there. What's going on with him?
Vernon Davis, what's going on with him? We'll go back about that.
There's a little more. Here's a little bit on where there's a con for the other team.
Frank Gore, 31 years old, well, concerns with the running back. Mike and Mike reminding, if you ever missed the show, the Best of Mike and Mike podcast is available every morning on ESPN
that's
Radio.
without the antenna.
What about a situation like Chicago?
Sweet.
Because, again, speaking of talent, you have Jay Cutler there, whether or not you think that he's always going to be this enigmatic puzzle that you can't really solve, or you just look at the fact he does have talent, it's a matter of getting through to him. But you've got Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey, Martellus Bennett, Matt Forte. But the Bears' defense needs a lot of work, and that seems to me is clearly a job where you want to have a defensive for Chicago.
Absolutely, they could really use a defensive mind. I mean, gave up more points than they're used to in Chicago in a long time in this year for a city that, is so often, always throws back to the 85 Bears and all those great defenses. Brian Urlacher there in the recent past. So for a place that's so used to that, I think a defensive-minded coach would be well received. You had Trestman in there, who was, the supposed quarterback whisperer and the guy that was going to take Jay Cutler to the next level. So now, working with that talent, like you said, on offense, I really think the healing is going to begin on defense.
And three of the big names out there to go along with that are Todd Bowles, defensive coordinators. Todd Bowles from Arizona, Dan Quinn from Seattle, and Terrell Austin from the Detroit Lions. And so that when you're going to hire one of those guys, this is what I would do. It depends on the coach that you have. If you're going to hire one of these guys, the first thing I would do if I'm one of those guys, and I'm not telling them anything they probably don't know, is I find such an offensive guy that I trust. Because that was an issue
so
with
radio apparently.
And quite honestly, with his
so that's 590. So it goes from 590 to 590 kilohertz to about 12 kilohertz. So let's see if I can find something. I'm amazed I don't get KFAB. They're like a terawatt here in town. They're actually a pretty big station. So I'm going to see if I can find them.
Head coach, you're going to be a coordinator. Rex, defense is yours. Do your thing. You know, and I don't want to say it's dual because you can't.
There's KFAB. It's weird. I don't understand why it's squealing.
It seems like all you guys do is eat. Like, you've got these guys coming in to feed you, and it seems like you're like,
None of us should have.
once an hour, you've got plenty of standard food.
We had Emerald in here, there were several Alton subs. It was a lot of fun, we got that here.
It's nice work if you can get it.
Absolutely.
There's actually two stations trying to creep in there.
Pro Football Taco joined us in the first hour, and I want to ask Mike about this. The Dominican Sue suspension. The Dominican Sue, the Lions defensive lineman, suspended for the playoff game against the Dallas Cowboys. Suspended one game for his leg stomp on Aaron Rodgers.
God, is all there is sports on AM in the morning? Jesus.
If it wasn't the Dominican Sue, we wouldn't be talking about suspension.
So did he say something about talking heads the other day? I think you got the talking heads.
Talking about a fine or maybe nothing at all. But because it's the Dominican Sue, because he's been suspended before
Now let's
for cheap
fire.
shots, because he's had more than 6 times that he's either fined
Oh, like there's no way.
or cheap shots. This is why we're here right now. Do you agree?
I agree, but I don't think that it's wrong that he was suspended. I think that this person do take that into account. Really gives us something to talk about, but what's going to stop him? I think that's the question. You suspend him for a while for a game where they definitely need him, fairly probably having the Cowboys who are close offensively. And then you have the fact that he's been fined, what, like, well over
It's not them.
$1,000 in his career for these kind of infractions. You've got to put it to him. I think it's totally fair.
I have to look at the context. And I know it was a cheap shot. No question. But it's not a playoff game. And if you're the NFL, even when it takes your stars in the playoff game, I just feel like you have to have some awareness of this situation. Look, I don't disagree with this in the sense that he
So that's a little high, actually.
If he wasn't the guy that he is, we wouldn't be here right now.
So I kind of tuned away from KFAB. This thing's very fiddly. You kind of find a station and then... think that might be 14 something. This thing has some issues. Using my spotter radio here. I don't know what that is. Oh, it's Spanish. So that's below KFAB, I think.
Stand out in the field of sports.
There it is. It's weird the Grundig doesn't want to pick it up at all. So the the 10,000-year-old TRF is beating the Grundig. All right. These seem to kind of knock out the oscillations of the thing. These are the main tuning. And the numbers are kind of lining up. Just kind of keep fiddling back and forth with things and eventually get it tuned up. So I think the comment was, these are very hands-on sets. Yeah. And you better have a dial with a number on it so you can write down the settings. You'll never get back there. So I should be able to open the caps up to get to KFAB, which is a way stronger station than this little Spanish station. Needs some foil on the front face here.
To be like this because they want you. This was not a lifetime achievement of a consume with this. We're trying to protect everything, as you mentioned, the face of the league in some ways, and Aaron Rodgers.
Things are very interactive.
No way.
Everything you touch bothers this thing. Probably the fact that it doesn't have any bypass caps or anything. Well, I did see a couple underneath, but it's pretty squealy. No, it's a fun little set. Well, I think I'm gonna just kind of let it sit there and percolate a little bit. See if I can get used to it. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for stopping by.